Ooh, welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm your host, Sheil Kapadia. We are doing a little hot seat check-in. What teams are going to be looking for head coaches this offseason? Who is coaching for a job in the final 5 weeks here? Could there be some surprises that people aren't thinking about? To break it all down, we've got Pat Daugherty from NBC Sports. He's been on with us before. Always fun talking about this stuff with him, especially coaches with Pat. I love talking coaches with Pat. So let's take a break. We come back and we talk NFL hot seats. This episode of the Ringer NFL show is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a C captain? Sure, they're both captains, but who is going to run your offense? You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team, so don't settle for just any insurance. When it comes to getting the help you need, State Farm is the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, we are back here with Pat Daugherty. We are talking NFL coaches, a little hot seat talk, Pat, and we're going to start with this first category. Okay, the first category is they're gone. And by that, I mean, I would legitimately be surprised if these guys are back. And I actually only have two guys in this category. You know, we already have the Titans job open. We have the Giants job open. And I think we're almost definitely going to get two more. Kevin Stefanski and Pete Carroll are the two guys I have in this category. So I'll give you the case real quick. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Stefanski is, 6-23 over the last two seasons. Even if a guy has been well respected and, he's won Coach of the Year twice. 6-23 is hard to get over, where I just feel like they're going to look at it and be like, okay, we're just going to go in a different direction and try to figure this thing out. So that's Stefanski. And then Pete Carroll, they're 2-10. I know we talked about him last time you were on. Most surprisingly, maybe they've got the worst vibes in the NFL. It just feels hopeless every time you watch them. And so I don't think Pete Carroll is going to be back here. So agree or disagree with those two selections?
100% agree on Carroll. Because the problem for Carroll is that the thesis of the hire was immediately disproven, where he's at least going to establish a baseline. We're at least not going to be a laughingstock anymore. The vibes will be good. Say what you will about Pete Carroll. He's been one of the ultimate vibes coach, not to undersell him as a coach much more than a vibes coach, but you just took it for granted. You were getting a positive atmosphere, positive energy with Pete Carroll. And instead, not only has that not happened, not only did the baseline not get raised, not only were they not pulled out of the doldrums, have they ever been this big of a laughingstock, during their laughingstock era? Because this is their laughingstock era, and it somehow just fell even further. And I'm a little surprised it happened, to be honest, with Pete. I thought even if Pete was past his prime, there's one thing Pete Carroll can do. It's get any team to 9-8. And
or at least 7-10, you know?
Even 7-10 would have been good. That's true for Pete Carroll. And so, the fact that the immediate, the reason you hired Pete Carroll was to prevent this from happening. And then it did happen. And, the Raiders, I think, no one wants to be one and done with a coach. A team that's had the Raiders coaching drama, I'm sure, is particularly not wanting to go down this road again. How do you watch the 2025 Las Vegas Raiders, though, and think someone else should not be leading this team?
It's also kind of their thing, Pat. Branding your lane. We're the one and done team. We make a bad decision, and then we're not going to fall for the sunk cost. We're just, all right, it was a bad decision. Let's move on. They don't really have another lane, so maybe that can be their lane here. I was thinking about Carroll. And have you ever edited a Wikipedia page in your life?
I've tried once or twice, and I was this world is. I'm a Wikipedia devotee. Love Wikipedia. But that world, talk about an insular world. I was going to call Pete Carroll's coaching staff insular to his own sons. Wikipedia editing is a very insular world that I did not feel like I could crack.
Because I was going to suggest, I think you and I are both Pete Carroll fans. We're fans of his career. We think he's been a great coach. We need to just erase this year from the Pete Carroll legacy. So I was going to ask you, because I don't even know how to do it. Go into Wikipedia. Maybe we contact someone at Pro Football Reference and just be don't include this season on his resume there. So yeah, all right. So we're both on the same page with Pete Carroll. We'll see what Tom Brady decides. There were reports out there that, hey, he wanted Ben Johnson or whatever. So let's see if he gets another shot at this and finds his favorite offensive coach. Where are you with Stefanski? You sound like you might be a little less sure about Stefanski belonging in this category.
Final thought on Pete, by the way. The final year erasing itself, that'll take care of itself. No one remembers Babe Ruth on the Boston Braves.
That's true.
So Pete will be fine. Stefanski, I am a little more on the fence because I will say this is a very long time for an organization as dysfunctional as the Cleveland Browns, not to make a firing. I'm sure they're itching to do it. I just sort of think, they're looking for anything positive. And I bet if they did like an organizational audit, they would find they still have the one positive thing we still have is we believe in the coach. Even though we're 6-23, this isn't his fault. Like one of the guys making the roster decisions, he was so bad, he now works for the Colorado Rockies. And so let's not blame that on Kevin Stefanski. It's Kevin.
He was blaming Stefanski. Didn't DePodesta do that in his introductory press conference? He said he wasn't calling the plays or something?
People. Yeah. And Kevin must have been one of them.
Okay.
But Kevin's problem when it comes to not being fired is that, a lot of the Hail Marys have already been thrown. Someone's been fired from the front office. They've, untold number of quarterback changes. He's fired himself as play caller twice.
Right.
And it's hard to stay one step ahead of the law for that long as he's been doing. So that is working against him. I also will say, you told me we could discuss trades. I could see almost Kevin Stefanski being a guy like the league might be interested in trading it. Like this isn't his fault. Like this is just what happens in Cleveland. He's 2-time coach of the year, like you said. So I don't think he's done coaching next year for sure. I'm just not sure if it's in Cleveland or not.
Yeah, I was looking at some of these, available head coaching lists. I think there was one on NFL.com. I don't know that I've seen a more uninspiring list like since I've been in the, covering this where I'm just like, oh my gosh, these are the top candidates that are available to be a head coach. So I'm with you. I actually think if Stefanski were fired, that he might be the top candidate on the market. Like for him and, his agent and whatever, this might be a great time to actually go ahead and get fired. And I think what happens sometimes is like an ownership gets, wind of that where Jimmy Haslam will be like, wait, other people like him? Maybe we should just keep him. So that's not out of the question. I was thinking about this, though, Pat. All right, so rank these possibilities for Stefanski because I do think he's well respected. I think it's a bad situation. I'm not telling you he's done a good job at 6-23, but I can see him having a good second act somewhere in a more competent organization. So here are the 4 things I wrote down. Giants head coach, Titans head coach, Raiders head coach, or Eagles offensive coordinator. I had to throw that in because he's got roots to Philadelphia. And if it's one of the, Philadelphia, that organization is a good place to kind of rehab your image. And then all of a sudden, a year later, everybody wants you. If you had to rank those Giants, Titans, Raiders head coach, and Eagles OC from most likely to least likely, if Stefanski is no longer with the Browns, what would your ranking be?
I think I might eliminate Raiders and Titans right off the bat because Kevin Stefanski's like, dude, I've been with the Browns. Like, I don't need to get back on this kind of train. And I want to be a head coach, but I need to be in a competent organization.
Titans aren't a little intriguing. They're a little low intriguing. Expectations, young quarterback.
They're more intriguing than the Raiders, I'll say.
I agree with that.
But I think he'll be most intrigued by the New York Giants. And they would maybe be intrigued by him too, because whenever you have a young franchise quarterback, good organizations tend to revolve the entire franchise around about, we want to be a good overall team, a good overall organization, but nothing is more important than developing this quarterback. Who would be better in the NFL who's available right now to do that than Kevin Stefanski? I think there'd be mutual interest there. And then I do think, the head coaching job that he wants doesn't become available. He might almost view it as a better gamble to go to Eagles rehab school than be the sacrificial lamb for the Raiders or the Titans. And listen, I'll be there the year the Eagles are good. As you know about the Eagles, they're on the every other year plan somehow. Talk about vibes. How are the Eagles always 8-4 with the worst possible vibes?
Yeah,
very strange.
It's hard to do.
I can see him opting for the Eagles rehab plan over what he views as a too flawed of a head coaching job.
I think it's a great point because you can get the second head coaching job, the third head coaching job if the second one doesn't work out. That's a lot harder. So I think you're right. He's a he's a younger guy on the scale of NFL head coaches. So I think he would be wise to pick the right spot. Giants could intrigue him. I think the Titans maybe could intrigue him. I'm with you. It has not been a good organization. It has not been stable. It probably would just depend on, what does he think of Cam Ward? What does he think of their GM, Borgonzi? Like, would this be a good situation or not? So, yeah, I'll go Giants. I think you're right. Giants, then Eagles OC, then Titans head coach, then Raiders head coach in that order. All right, so those are the two guys I have in the they're gone category. Next category, Pat, on the fence. These are guys who might be coaching for their jobs here over the last 5 weeks. As stupid as that sounds, sometimes you go into week 18 and the insider's like, this guy's coaching for their job. And I'm like, that seems really stupid to make a decision on if this team wins or loses. But the more you get to know like owners and decision makers in the NFL, you're like, no, I could actually see that guy making a decision based on how this goes. So I've got Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins, Raheem Morris of the Falcons, and Jonathan Gannon of the Cardinals in this category. Do you feel like any of them belong in the first category of they're gone, or are you on the fence with these three guys as well?
I think I'm going to put Raheem and Gannon in the first category of they're gone. And for them, it boils down to one pretty simple reason. I feel like, for one thing, I feel like defensive-minded guys don't get as much leeway, don't get as much grace, because like an offensive-minded head coach like Brian Daboll he could blame it on the quarterback for almost 4 years. Like, you have an easier out, an easier alibi. If you're a defensive-minded head coach and, you don't have at least like a top 16, top half of the league defense, you get a lot less grace, I feel like, not just from ownership, but from the media. There's just a lot less patience. Like we saw with like Robert Saleh with the Jets. There's a lot less patience in general, I feel like, for defensive-minded head coaches. And Raheem Morris, he's got the real bad problem. If it's a second year, this should be the year, where at least his defense is hitting its stride. And, the exact opposite is happening. And, of course, all the problems on offense, still the problems with game management. But if you're a defensive-minded guy in year two, you don't have the defense on the up and up. You don't have to be Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, but you got to be better than what the Falcons have been. And it's the same with the Cardinals. He's a defensive-minded guy. He's 4 years now, I believe. He doesn't have a defensive bully, and the quarterback plateaued. I could just see the front office is relatively new still. I could see them wanting to get another shot at the head coaching thing. And I feel like both of them are probably, I think it's going to be a big year for coaches being out.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting, because we landed, I think, a little differently, where I came away from this exercise going, I think there might be fewer openings than I think. And a part of that is just looking at the candidate
pool. The low-hanging fruit has already been picked too.
Yeah, you're right. And I feel like some of these teams are going to be spooked and be like, I don't really see someone out there who I love. Let's give this guy one more chance. But you make a strong case. I mean, Raheem Morris, 33-55 as a head coach. I was looking at every head coach that has coached 50 games. He ranks 177th out of 204 in winning percentage. The game management's horrendous. They're 4-8. Now, I will say this. If I'm Raheem Morris's agent and I'm doing my leaks to the insiders, being like, hey, put it, maybe you want to throw this out there. There are two things I would put out there, Pat. Tell me if either of these sell you. One is great coaches vouch for Raheem Morris. Like Tomlin at one point did an interview and it's like, Raheem Morris is the best coach I've ever coached with. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. McVay, he obviously coached there with McVay. I think Shanahan in the past has said, so that has some meaning, at least, where great coaches are like, no, this guy is a great coach. That's one. And he can also play what I like to call their Terry Fontenot card here, Pat, where, sometimes I don't advocate for backstabbing. If you're listening in your industry or your profession, I'm not saying I would do this, but if you're in the NFL, you could maybe just whisper that, hey, man, come on. Terry Fontenot has had 6 first-round picks, including 4 in the top 10. He paid a free agent quarterback $100 million guaranteed money. He already traded away our first-round pick next year, which, by the way, is going to be a top 10 pick. The organization has been under 500, regardless of the coach, 5 straight seasons with him. I mean, this really isn't my fault, Mr. Blank. You got to go Mr. Blank, as the coaches do. Yeah, Mr. Blank, this isn't my fault. It's more the GM. Like, maybe you get another GM in here, and I'm telling you, I can turn this thing around. What do you think? Would those things sway you on Raheem Morris?
A little bit, because to Terry Fontenot, sorry if this is like too insular internet, but the meme where it says no one, and then it says so-and-so. It's my so-and-so time. Terry Fontenot's kind of the ultimate. It's Terry Fontenot time. Like, even though no one was asking for that, that is a persuasive argument. And Raheem, it's not just great coaches who vouch for him. It's also great players. The Rams defense, I remember like they were pounding the table for Raheem Morris to get another head coaching job. So he does have a lot of people in the league who believe in him, working in his favor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And with Gannon, I mean, his winning, I don't think people realize how bad his winning percentage is worse than Raheem Morris.
It's real bad.
He's 15-31 in 3 seasons. So he doesn't qualify for 50 games yet. If he did, that would rank 191st out of 204 coaches all time. And by the way, it's not just the winning. We talked, Raheem Morris doesn't have any other like weird stuff on his resume other than, they lose a lot of games and the defense is bad and his game management's bad. But the weird stuff I'm talking about, remember, Jonathan Gannon cost his team a pick swap because he couldn't even take the job correctly. They got hit with the tampering thing when he took the job. Then he got fined $100,000 for what I don't even know what to call it anymore. What did he do to Emery DeMercado? Like, can we say struck him, punch him, made contact? He did, so whatever it was, he did it.
It was striking adjacent. That was for sure. It was striking adjacent.
And he got fined $100,000 for that. So I know they lost a bunch of one-score games, but he was supposed to come in and it's like, all right, get Kyler Murray on track, a new era, get this defense going. And they're in like the exact same place, if not worse, than when he got there. So I would put him like ahead of Raheem Morris in terms of guys I think would get fired.
The only thing I would say too, to your point with Raheem, with Gannon, if you want to blame someone else, Kyler Murray looks like a pretty convenient scapegoat.
All right.
Listen, how am I supposed to win with Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Yes. And so
that's true.
He can play that game.
Yeah. This is part of coaching, yes. Find someone else.
Politicking is part of coaching for sure.
Yeah. All right. So Mike McDaniel, you think he belongs here. Where are you with Mike McDaniel? Are you on the fence like I am, where I'm actually not sure if he's going to get fired or not?
I'm very on the fence. And so, sometimes teams develop a reputation of like, they kick the field goal when they should go for it, or then they go for it when they should kick the field goal. The Dolphins kind of feel like that to me in their front office, where certain people have been kept way too long. Other people have been let go too quickly. A lot of players don't get second contracts with the Dolphins. Then they go on and have a successful rest of career elsewhere, where it just seems like they can't self-scout well either. I feel like they're like a very sensitive organization. Or I feel like one thing maybe helping Mike McDaniel, I think something you alluded to earlier was a different team, but I think the Dolphins could maybe not fire Mike McDaniel because they'd be spooked he would get hired immediately elsewhere. Or I could just see them
That's interesting.
Keeping him. And I'm not even saying keeping him would be the wrong decision, but I could see them keeping him for the wrong reasons. I'm genuinely confused too, like if keeping him is the right decision. Like, should he be viewed as,
I agree with that.
Like, should he be viewed as someone who absolutely maximized like an inadequate quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, or should he be viewed as someone who like maxed out immediately? Like, he's a very tough guy to figure, I feel like, in the coaching carousel.
I'm with you, because if you look at it, you're like, another coach with Tua Tagovailoa the last 4 years and the injuries he's had and the rest of the roster, Mike McDaniel has gone 33-30 with 2 playoff appearances. That kind of feels like it's not bad, I don't know. Sure, the great coaches, maybe they would have done better, but not. I think if you took all the coaches in the NFL and you're like, would they have done better than that over the last 4 years? I think more would not have done better than that than actually would have done better than that. So yeah, in some ways, it's kind of like, well, that's not bad. Now, on the other hand, he hasn't shown an ability to do any of the other stuff. It just has been weird vibes and the leadership.
Very weird vibes.
He loses Vic Fangio after 1 year, where it's like, all right, what happened there? There's stuff with the discipline and accountability. So I'm not sweeping that stuff under the rug. That hasn't been good. At the same time, a month ago, it felt like they might be in line for the number 1 pick. And that hasn't happened. They've won 4 of 5 here. They seem to still be playing hard. When they fired Chris Greer, the GM, I kind of took that as hey, maybe they are going to stick with Mike McDaniel here. So yeah, right now I'm saying keep him. I do kind of feel like of all the people who are coaching for their jobs, he might be the one where it's sort of like these last 5 weeks, if they're getting blown out and guys look disinterested and it's embarrassing, he might be out of there. Whereas even if they don't make the playoffs, but it's like, all right, it's a respectable team, they might say, hey, let's change some of the other stuff, but keep the head coach.
You made the most important point of Mike McDaniel probably too, where, listen, we already fired someone. We fired the GM.
Right.
It's like, now we're moving on. We want stability. Two, I think some dysfunctional organizations fire too quickly. Then there's some other dysfunctional organizations like the Cowboys who they view like stability as synonymous with competency, which is, of course, not always the case. Sometimes you actually do need to make a change.
I think the Giants are like that, by the way.
Yes, they are.
They're like
for sure.
obsessed with not being an unstable organization, and they don't make changes. And you're like, this guy kind of sucks. Like, I probably would have made a change earlier there. All right, let's take a break. We come back, and I got a couple wild cards for Pat. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. The holidays move quickly like a blitz to save the game. That's where Prime comes in with fast, free delivery. You know, my kids put together these presentations for what they want for Christmas, and they put the Amazon Prime link right in there. I just have to click. They know I'm not paying for shipping. I'm going to that Prime link, can order it. It shows up at the door. It's in a box, so it doesn't give anything away. I sneak it upstairs, and there you go. They will see it on Christmas morning. Prime's fast shipping is always there for you during the holidays, especially when it's last minute and just can't wait. Need some holiday magic? It's on Prime. Head to Amazon.com/Prime to shop now. All right, we are back here on the Ringer NFL show. All right, let's finish with this, Pat. I'm trying to find a wild card, and it's hard. I was scouring the coaching list for a while, being like, can I throw someone at him that he's not going to expect? And the two names I kept coming back to, and again, I don't think they're going to be gone, but if you told me, hey, there's a surprise, they're playing each other this weekend, and that's John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, where it's just two guys who have been with their organizations for a long time, widely respected, have had great careers, have been two of the better coaches of the last 20 years here. At the same time, is it time for a change? And is there a team like the Giants that says, we don't really love the candidates out there. Let's take a swing with the trade on one of these guys. So where are you on those two, John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, or is there another wild card that I'm missing here?
See, I must admit, Tomlin or Harbaugh are much more viable trade candidates than Kevin Stefanski. The rare coach trades do involve established brands like Tomlin or Harbaugh. And Tomlin, I really do think, he's at his like Andy Reid with the Eagles juncture with the Steelers, where I think everyone agrees Mike Tomlin should be coaching an NFL team, but sometimes you just have to shake it up. The Eagles are a great organization in knowing when to shake it. Not just with Andy Reid, but then with Doug Peterson. Sometimes it just has to be done. Might even be done with Nick Sirianni soon. And the Steelers have blown past that juncture 3 or 4 different times where they probably could have used the reset. And again, you don't want to fire someone or part ways with someone that you know is going to get another job. But I think Tomlin kind of wants out. I mean, you can't ever ascribe too much meaning to one game. When you watch the Steelers and Bills, did that not just feel like watching an era end in real time?
I thought that last year with the Steelers, watching
that's
them
true.
at the
I thought
end
it
of the
several
season.
years. But Sunday it was kind of how did we ever think this plan was going to work? The Aaron Rodgers plan. And I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. We kept John Mozeliak, the Cardinals kept John Mozeliak 3 or 4 years too long because he had a lot of success. The Cardinals valued stability. Change is scary. I think the Steelers are at the point where even if it ends up a downgrade, they need to try something different. And it's not even Mike Tomlin's fault. But I think both sides would greatly benefit from trying something different in Pittsburgh.
I think that's the difference between these two coaches, where I think John Harbaugh, if you asked him, he's probably like, I got Lamar Jackson. I don't want to go start over somewhere else. Let's get him healthy. We've been in the mix here. He probably would be less interested in that. I actually wrote down the Andy Reid comp for him, though, because, Andy Reid was his mentor in Philadelphia. And it's just John Harbaugh has had this long run. They've won a lot of games. They haven't won the big one. Is there a second chapter for him somewhere where it's different? So I'm a little intrigued. That one I feel like would almost be more Ravens ownership and management being like, listen, we got offered this trade. It's time for a change, whatever. Tomlin, I'm with you. If I'm him, and it's easy for me to say, I know he's got roots in Pittsburgh and change is not easy, but I feel like if I were him, I'd be a little fatigued and just be like, all right, this has been great. This is a great organization to work for. I know I'm taking a risk, but I'm at the stage of my career where I'm willing to take that risk. This isn't working for either side. We have no path going forward. Let's go ahead and work something out here.
I think the Ravens, too, by the way, the Ravens just lost a great coach in Mike McDonald's. They might be a little more philosophical about, we love John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is synonymous with Ravens football, but, there's always another coach. There's always another era. Where that could almost have them more open-minded to, maybe moving on, or a mutual parting of ways when it comes to John Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh, I don't know if it's bad luck. Has any team had more bad luck than the Ravens? And like they might just want to shake up their mojo.
Yeah.
When it comes
I was
to the
saying
sideline.
yesterday that it's like if you took the 2024 or 2023 Ravens and put them in this year, we'd be like, man, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. But that timing, it hasn't worked out for them. So we'll see if there's some. I do think the Giants having an opening in a year where there aren't great candidates and in a stretch where they haven't been able to get this right since Tom Coughlin, at least leads to some intrigue that maybe will get something spicy depending on how the last 5 weeks play out here. All right. His name is Pat Daugherty. Love talking football with him. Love talking coaches with him. You can check him out on NBC Sports. I will be right back with the Hurry Up. The Hurry Up is our closing segment where I give you a take on news in the NFL, and things seem to somehow be getting even worse in New York for the Giants. We talked about them a little bit earlier, but this week, man, they get blown out by the Patriots on Monday night. Jackson Dart makes his return, but makes no changes to his play style, so he's getting rocked all game long. I mean, Troy Aikman was just like in disbelief watching the hits that Jackson Dart was taking, and afterwards, Dart tells reporters he's going to keep being aggressive. He tells them, watch my high school tape and you won't be shocked about how I play. But man, this is not high school. And it is just hard to envision a scenario where he's going to be able to get through an entire NFL season taking these hits and playing this way. So you got that. Meanwhile, rookie Abdul Carter is benched for missing a special teams meeting, according to The Athletic, the second time in 3 weeks. He's been disciplined. And then GM Joe Schoen holds a press conference. I guess he does this at the bye week every year, talking to reporters. Doesn't have a lot of answers. And for me, it was just a reminder that this organization has bad leadership. I mean, we're talking about the second fewest wins in the entire NFL over a 10-year span. And I'm not confident that they're going to have a smart path going forward. So I just want to go on the record and say, keeping Joe Schoen is a massive mistake. I mean, this is the perfect time for an organizational reset. This team needs direction, leadership, stability. And instead, now they're looking for a coach that can work with Joe Schoen. Why are you doing this, Giants? It does not make sense to me. It is unnecessary. So maybe it'll work out, but I just hate the process, and I am not confident that the Giants are going to make wise decisions this offseason. Maybe I'll be wrong. We'll see. All right. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you to Pat Daugherty. Thanks to Christopher Sutton for producing, Kiera Givens on social, and additional production supervision by Conor Nevins and Arjuna Ramgopowell. I'm Sheil Kapadia. Talk to you tomorrow on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.